This is the Russian anarchist and scientist Peter Kropotkin. His most famous book is Mutual Aid, A Factor of Evolution, which was first published in 1902. It is often misrepresented by people as arguing that humans are inherently loving and kind. Kropotkin is described as a naive optimist who ignores the selfish and brutal side of human nature. There is a lot wrong with this claim. Firstly, Kropotkin used the term mutual aid in two main senses. It either refers to cooperative activity in general, especially when a member of a group supports others and is supported in turn, hence the name mutual aid. Or it refers to the instinct within animals to engage in such cooperative activity. This is an instinct that evolved because it enabled individual animals and the groups they form to survive and reproduce. Cooperative activity and the instinct to cooperate do not necessarily involve emotions like love. To quote Kropotkin, "It is not love, and not even sympathy, understood in its proper sense, which induces a herd of ruminants, or of horses, to form a ring in order to resist an attack of wolves, not love which induces wolves to form a pack for hunting. It is a feeling infinitely wider than love or personal sympathy, an instinct that has been slowly developed among animals and men in the course of an extremely long evolution, and which has taught animals and men alike the force they can borrow from the practice of mutual aid and support, and the joys they can find in social life." Secondly, Kropotkin never claimed that evolution can be reduced down to mutual aid. He thought that mutual aid was a factor of evolution rather than the whole thing. This is why it's the subtitle of the book. Kropotkin argued that a naturalist would be wrong to view the animal world as only a field of slaughter or nothing but harmony and peace. It instead features both competition and cooperation, both conflict and mutual support. The two are in fact intertwined, such as when herbivores cooperate to survive an attack by a carnivore. He wrote, "As we study animals, we at once perceive that though there is an immense amount of warfare and extermination going on amidst various species, and especially amidst various classes of animals, there is at the same time as much, or perhaps even more, of mutual support, mutual aid, and mutual defense amidst animals belonging to the same species, or at least to the same society. Sociability is as much a law of nature as mutual struggle." Thirdly, the reason why Kropotkin focused on mutual aid rather than mutual struggle is because of the context he was writing in. The book is a compilation of articles that originally appeared in a popular publication at the time called the 19th Century. These articles were written in response to another article that the 19th Century published in 1888 by the social Darwinist Thomas Huxley, called The Struggle for Existence in Human Society. In this article, Huxley asserted that the natural world is characterized by a ruthless struggle for existence in which only the most strong, fast, or smart survive. He describes life for all hunter-gatherers as, aside from family bonds, a war of all against all. For Huxley, it is only with the emergence of civilization that this tendency is counteracted, to some extent, by the establishment of a civic morality. But this is never permanent because the animal instinct to breed causes overpopulation, and with it a struggle for scarce resources and society's self-destruction. Under such conditions, vast inequalities in wealth and power are just a product of how the world naturally works. Kropotkin refuted this by pointing out the very important role of mutual aid in evolution and its existence across all of human history, including among hunter-gatherers and so-called barbarians. As part of this, he described institutions that humans developed to organize cooperation at scale and prevent the centralization of wealth and power. Kropotkin's mutual aid is best thought of as a response video to a 10-page essay that spiraled out of control and became a large book. Fourthly, Kropotkin repeatedly stressed that humans have an innate tendency to engage in both cooperative and harmful behavior. He wrote in his last book, Ethics, Origin and Development, that there are two sets of diametrically opposed feelings which exist in man. These are the feelings which induce man to subdue other men in order to utilize them for his individual ends, and the feelings which induce human beings to unite for attaining common ends by common effort. The first corresponds to that fundamental need of human nature, struggle, and the second to the equally fundamental tendency, the desire of unity and mutual sympathy. The manner and extent to which these innate tendencies are expressed is shaped by the historically contingent social structures that a person lives within. In 1895, Kropotkin claimed that the relative amounts of individualist and mutual aid spirit are among the most changeable features of man. Both being equally products of an anterior development, their relative amounts are seen to change in individuals, and even societies, with a rapidity which would strike the sociologist if he only paid attention to the subject and analysed the corresponding facts. Lastly, Kropotkin's books and articles are full of discussions of both good and terrible human behaviour. In Mutual Aid itself, he notes several examples of the San people in South Africa cooperating and being sympathetic towards one another, such as hunting in common, engaging in affectionate behaviour, and rescuing someone if they were drowning in water. This went alongside Kropotkin noting examples of extreme domination. He wrote, "When Europeans settled in their territory and destroyed deer, the Bushmen began stealing the settlers' cattle, whereupon a war of extermination, too horrible to be related here, was waged against them. 500 Bushmen were slaughtered in 1775, 3,000 in 1808 and 1809. They were poisoned like rats, killed by hunters lying in ambush before the carcasses of some animal, killed whenever met with. So that our knowledge of the Bushmen, being chiefly borrowed from those same people who exterminated them, is necessarily limited." Far from being naive about human nature and assuming that everyone is a cooperative angel, Kropotkin was extremely aware of the fact that humans are capable of committing atrocities against one another. The good and the bad elements of human nature coexist, and it's important to not focus on one at the cost of completely ignoring the other. As always, the sources are in the description.